across the way there. Go ahead and move. I'm going to keep talking because we only have 45 minutes. We can see eventually we can find pieces that fit together and identify them as part of something. Other things are partially buried, but they can be seen. They just need to have the burden just a little bit. And again, we're talking about the Bible, but we're making the analogy of an archaeological dig. We look at what other people have found, and we can learn from that. But when we find interesting things on the surface, it makes us want to dig deeper, doesn't it? But we have to dig in the hot sun and the wind and the cold, the heat. And we have to be careful about what we find because it's precious. It's valuable what we find in the Bible archaeological dig. But the more we find what's valuable, the more we continue to want to dig. And we dig deeper and deeper and deeper. The dig is very deep. It seems to have no bottom. Look at this picture up here. This is Jericho. Do you see this wall that happens to be still standing today? This is on the north side of Jericho. This wall is still standing. You can't see it in this image, but there's a retaining wall under here. The wall is here. The wall continues, and then here's some stuff that they didn't dig away from it, kind of on both sides. That's still standing together. When I saw that, I was like, this is proof Jericho. So we're astounded. The more we find in our archaeological dig, the more astounded we are at what is left to be found. So that makes us want to dig deeper. Oh, the depth of the riches of both the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments, his ways past finding out. Yes, the Bible is easy to understand on the surface. Even babies can get something from the Bible. But we have to dig and continue to dig. Why? Whatever was written in former days was written for our instruction, that through endurance and through the encouragement of the scriptures, we might have hope. So let's begin. Where do we start? The title of this session is It's Just a Bible Story. Well, it's not just a Bible story. It's a valuable archaeological dig, is it not? So our theme for this period is visual aids, aid learning. And I'm preaching to the choir when I say that because I'm sure that all of you know that. Let me ask about the experience. Hi, I didn't see you back there. Good to see you. Visual aids, aid learning. How many of you would consider yourself an experienced teacher? Let me see your hands. Okay. How many of you would consider yourself more like a beginner? Anybody beginner? Beginner, okay. And who's kind of in between? Okay. Okay. All right. So visual aids, aid learning. What is a visual aid? What's a visual aid?
Hands-on material.
Okay.
Something for them to see.
Yeah, anything we can see. Absolutely. It's visual aid. Jesus used visual aids, didn't he? When he heals people. Consider the lilies. Look at all Moses did. Crossing the Red Sea, that was a visual aid. It all was. It makes it more interesting for the children, and it helps the teacher present her lesson in a more focused way. My brain is naturally unfocused, and I don't think in words, I think in images and feelings. So for me to teach a lesson, I need visual aids and I need a script in the back. I do. Years ago, I thought, well, if you need somebody said, well, if you need the script on the back, you don't know the Bible very well. I said, well, you don't know my brain very well. I need that visual aid script on the back. I don't care if I've taught it 100 times. I need to make sure I get in everything that has to do with that particular picture, and that's okay. So the categories, we're going to look at three-dimensional visual aids. We're going to look at dioramas as well as some objects. We're going to look at flip charts, which is the most basic thing you can do, and then some flip chart variations to get you to think out of the box. All right, so let's start with a diorama. We're going to We're gonna go to the back in a minute. This is something I came up with literally at the last minute. Sometimes those last minute ideas end up being your best. This is one of those. I don't know where it came from. But I had clothespins and I had construction paper. So I glued some little circles on here. This is about David being anointed. This is David, this is Samuel, Jesse, Abinadab, Shemua, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 brothers. Because these weren't big enough to write their names out. So we go through the story, and at the beginning of the story I say, there's something very, very beautiful here, but you can't see it. What can you see that's very, very beautiful? And then after the lesson, I say, well, David was beautiful because everything was what? What's the verse about David? God doesn't see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So there's something hidden here that you can't see. What is it? Let's come back here and I'll show you. I have this visual. Everybody just come on back here. If we can get the camera over here. Or let me move the camera. Let me move this over here. You have to stand up and see this. This is not, you won't get the effect if you don't see this. Hurry up, come on, we only have 30 more minutes. When we shift in Bible class, I always sing a song. And the kids get here real fast. All right, so we have all the brothers. We talk about the story of how David was anointed. See David's, I just happened to have a little one, so I went, oh, David, he's young at this time. We don't know how young. Okay, so what is it in here that's so beautiful? Y'all come closer. What can you see? What you can't see the beauty of it, it's him. What can you see that's so beautiful in here? You can't see it by looking at the outside. What is it in here that's so gorgeous? Anybody know? Ideas? What can you see? Oh, are you able to get this? I can't. Okay, we need to find some waters. All right, you want to zoom in? You ready to zoom in on this? All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Well, I don't know.
Zoom in. Oh, well, that's okay.
I can
All
get,
right.
I can see it. So.
All right, what do we see? All right. I'll make a production out of this. I'll slow it down. Production, what do you see? What do you see? Why couldn't you see it from the outside? Because beauty is not from the outside. Beauty is what's on the inside. So that's the sort of the theme of that lesson when David's anointed. And that verse is their memory verse. All right. So that's a diorama. That's a three-dimensional visual aid. They're fun to make. Here's another one, the tabernacle, or maybe the temple. We're teaching the tabernacle. I get these boxes that are the perfect dimensions, uline.com. But I order them, I cut them off, paint them gold, and then get these visuals right here. These are the tabernacle. Bible Fun for Kids, if you're not aware.com is a source that you need to be aware of if you're going to teach. I believe she's got the tabernacle on there. These were Sweet Publishing originally, so if you go to freebibleimages.com, which is on your resource sheet, you can print these out and make them any size. But we talk about what the tabernacle is, and then we make some applications later. We talk about what a lampstand is. When Aaron went into the holy place, did he just flip a light switch? Kids don't think that way. Some of them are going to go, and then, oh, wait, no. No, he didn't flip a light switch. This is a lampstand. This is a lamp, an ancient lamp. It has a hole in it, and they put oil in it. The wick soaks up the oil, and you set it on top of each one of these. Did you know that you cannot find a 7-pronged lampstand like this in the United States? They're all 9. And they say, well, that's because it's not in the temple, whatever. So I got this in Israel. I went to Israel.
I have one I brought from Israel too.
Yeah, I had always used a 9 one before because that's all I had. But I found this one at 7. Here's some books. My suggestion, they're not on your resource. My suggestion is if you're interested in these, they have model in them that you just punch out. They're pre-cut. You can make your own temple model. tabernacle model. Come and take a picture of the front of the book and the back of the book, and then you can order it that way. This summer, we were doing Ezra and Nehemiah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. That shows you what we're doing. That's just cat litter that I used. What I used back there is cat litter, lightweight cat litter, lightweight cat litter. We used to use sandboxes, too heavy. There we go, there it is. I made this summer out of styrofoam and some boxes. My son had just moved. I was walking out of his garage and there was this pile of styrofoam. I did one of these. Wait a minute, I can use that. And after you've been teaching for a while, you have a radar that detects things like that. No matter where you go, you're like, oh, I can use that. So it's fun. All right, so that's 2 examples of dioramas that you can use. Let's go into objects. Okay, we have this cute little adorable baby toy, right? We use things like this in our cradle roll classes for babies because babies don't care about dimensions. This is the story of how God saved Noah and his family and the animal, from a baby point of view. But that's not the ark, is it? That's not the ark. This is the ark. Right there. That's 6 feet long. I can't bring it. It's too big. That's cardboard. That's in your resources. You can get it off of Betsy. It's, I don't know, $70. I don't remember how much it is. But in the front, we've got felt for trees. And here I've got paper. This was a happy accident. I went up to our cradle roll and I got a couple of big dinosaurs because I didn't have any. And I set them there with the other animals and then I went, oh, wait a minute, there's a problem. What's the problem that you see with these guys?
Too big?
They're too big. They can't fit in there. So what do? We get smaller dinosaurs. That's a lesson in Christian ethics. So here we got some smaller dinosaurs, and we've got our water, felt, just whatever you have, you can use for these. All right. You can also, the same place you order this, you can get these. Do y'all want me to pass these temple and tabernacle books around? Okay, I'll pass them around. I'll also pass these around as well. This is considered a take-home, I think it was $1, and maybe more now. But if you don't want to get the big one, you got to think about space when you're making all this
storage is
stuff.
hard.
Storage, exactly. I'm fortunate to have a big bonus room that I use for all my stuff. And this is a small fraction. If you've been teaching for a while, you get it. This is just a little bit of stuff. I'll pass these around. They might have the source on them. Anyway, this is on your resource page there. All right, so okay, we're 3D objects. We got the ark. Now let's go to the golden calf. I was in Walmart one day, and this was a planter that was on the shelf. Looks like a rock. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I looked at that hole in the bottom, and I went, oh, golden calf. But where do you get the calf? Where do you get the calf? 4-H trophy. 4-H trophy. Teacher workshop is where I got this idea. These unscrews, see the unscrews on the bottom. I got my hole, screwed it in, went out to my yard, got a bunch of rocks because this was painted white and it's ugly, so I covered it up with rocks. Golden calf. Now, what do you do when Moses winds up the golden calf and throws it in the water? Glitter. Parents love me because I send things home like glitter. I'm their favorite person. Back to the ark. If you can't do the ark, get some boxes. Look, that one already has a hole in it. They're long-ish. The dimensions aren't going to be exactly the same, but if you can get something, let the kids decorate them. Let them make the little animals. Let them make their own ark. Tabernacle. If you don't want to buy boxes, a Velveeta box is just about perfect. I got some other boxes. This is a Velveeta box. Not exactly the same. Now, I used to use shoe boxes for this because it was the best I could do. The kids understood that the dimensions of the shoe box weren't the actual dimensions, because I actually have another model back there in the back that you can, I forget where I bought, but it's online. But you can do that. And then let them make their own. The process of making it diorama style is that they're going to be learning in that process, and they're going to be engaged. All of these things captivate them, and it engages them, and that's what we want. If the child's mind is engaged, guess what? You're just not going to have a lot of issues compared to otherwise. People always ask me, what do I do when I have problems in my class? And I say, I don't have problems. My classes are so packed. They're just jam-packed with this. Kids don't have time. I have a website, it's on there, it's called kidsbibleclassideas.com. And as I put a few lesson plans on there, I'm going, nobody's gonna do these lesson plans because they're very, very dense. They have a lot of moving parts, it seems. But you know, it works for me. And there's a lot of patterns on there. Some of these patterns that are here, we've been able to put on there. Some lesson plans, pictures, songs, there's a lot of stuff. It's just another resource. But there's some, make sure you pay attention to those resources. Don't throw that away. Go to every one of those resources. Spend a lot of time on those, and you will just be blown away. I try not to bring anything that can be found elsewhere, except the creation numbers. Everybody has a creation number set. In fact, I'm at that point in my teacherhood where I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, you mean you don't have a set of creation numbers? How can you not? You know, that's kind of where I am. Anybody else there? About something, maybe not creation number. There was a time I didn't have creation numbers, not till I went to the ACU workshop, and it's like, you can do that. So workshops can really open up the possibilities. You can copy these ideas or you can adapt them. I teach 4th, 5th, and 6th, and a lot of what I do, we'll get to this in a little while, is geared to upper elementary, but everything is adaptable. This can be used for any age, but not in this exact format. You have to alter it just a little bit, but it can be done. All right, so that's the golden calf. Go to Walmart and find just a stone planter, or get a box and paint it. This is an altar, and I just spray painted the box and then put it. But there's something in there which we'll get to. Crown of thorns. We don't know if Jesus' crown of thorns had thorns this long, but that's the picture we always get. So in our culture, that's what we think of. It might have been like a rose bush. Go out to your garden, go somewhere and get some green branches and bend them around. I got these when I came back from ACU 35 years ago, because my son is 37 and I left him when he was 2. That was hard. But they survived. My husband survived with him and his brother. We went out and I cut this off mesquite trees. These are big old mesquite branches, and we got chiggers. Oh, we got chiggers. We were miserable for the next week with chigger bites. But it doesn't have to be this. You can make it out of pipe cleaners. Thank you. See, I told you I don't think in words. Pipe cleaners. You just loop it around, and then you get some short pieces, and you bring them and you twist, and you're just connecting the different layers. Let the kids make their own. You can make one if you don't want to have this. You're teaching younger children especially. I do pass this around with children, but boy, they get a strict warning. This is not weird. This is not a time to be silly, blah, 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 but they're upper elementary. I'm not sure I would pass it around to a 1st grader, because they'll probably take someone and go, if they don't want it, that's not good. But you could hold it and let them experience. But if you don't want to do that, pipe cleaners are the next bet. All right, Gideon. When we get to Gideon, what does an angel look like? Our culture tells us that this is an angel, right? Usually a female, blonde hair, wings, beautiful flowing clothes. What does an angel look like in the Bible?
Scary. They're all men.
Well, yeah, when they come to earth, I should say. What is an angel? They always look like men. Now, when at the resurrection of Jesus, they're glowing. So, but they're always look like men. So when we teach about Gideon and we say an angel came to him, the child might think of this because that's what's always on top of their Christmas tree. This is a Christmas tree topic. This is what we think of. So let's educate them on what it was really like, because it's not just a story. All right, it's not just a story. So again, we're looking at objects. A ram's horn. You don't have to go to Israel to get this. I can't play this. I had a girl who played it for me one time because she's a trumpet player. You have to purse your lips together and then blow really hard. It's hard. They come in all different lengths, but the Bible, there's a lot of ram's horns, and it's usually associated with war. Think Gideon. We're kind of thinking Gideon at the moment here. But get a ram's horn for that. With Jericho, they blew the ram's horns. You can get recordings of ram's horns. We did this last summer. We did Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. No. We did Jericho. And they were marching around, and we had a recording of ram's horn playing, and we actually had this ram's horn while the puppets were going around. It was really very effective. So if you need you can get recordings of that online. Fleece. What is a fleece? Kids don't know what fleece is. We don't have fleece lying around. It's a sheepskin. It's just a sheepskin, right? Children in this day and age don't have a lot of experience with that. So now, why would Gideon have a piece of fleece lying around? Why fleece? Well, I have pictures. I didn't bring them. Sometimes they use a fleece under the saddle of a horse or a donkey. They might use it around their bit, so it doesn't rub. These could be on the floor, so they weren't on the dirt floor. It could be on their beds. So fleece was a common thing then. Teach them that this is a common thing for most people back then. Show them what a fleece is, and then, well, why did he want to get it? Well, that's just what he had. It was just what he had. So show them what a fleece is. Okay, these are 5 smooth stones, which just happen to be from the Valley of Elah, where David killed Goliath. A little brook there, and they're all, this size, maybe a little smaller, maybe a little bigger, but they're really smooth because they're river rock. I can pass these around if you want, but what does it say happened when David threw this at Goliath? What did it do in his forehead? It sunk in. So in my mind, I'm thinking it was like a bullet. So it would have to have been a big bullet to kill a guy who was taller than these ceilings, I'm guessing, and maybe 5 feet wide, Bigfoot, I don't know. It was big, but his skull would have been very, very thick. So it would have taken a big bullet to get through that thick skull of his. But have you ever said to your children, I gotta get that thick skull of yours? Well, I'm sure Goliath's mother said that about him too. Getting through his thick skull. This is only a small portion of what I have, a representative portion of stuff I have. But as you're doing these lessons, think about the objects that are in those lessons. Can I find an object like that? Do you have a picture in your house that's made of pottery? I have one. I didn't bring it because, again, space and weight is an issue. Up on my shelf, I looked at that and I like, that's a clay pot. So I bring it to class when we teach Gideon, because clay pot, they might be thinking of a tea kettle when we think of pot. Anything in the story, think of objects that you can use. Order some on the internet. Spend a little money and then store it. You don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel when you teach. I hear this so much. Somebody teaches a lesson and then they get rid of the stuff. That just hurts my heart. Keep your information. You do have to consider storage. You don't need to be a whole. I keep very specific categories of things to make dioramas, visuals and stuff. But keep your lesson plans. We'll get to that in a minute, because you will reuse it. It may not be next year, the next, or the next, but 10 years down the line, you may reuse that. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel and think, wait, what did I do in that lesson? I had a really cool object, but I don't remember what it was. Well, if you kept it and then kept them organized, you're not constantly reinventing the wheel. I learned that on the hard way. Okay, back here is a large grape cluster. Let me show you a picture of this. Do you see back there? It's just hanging on a rod. Oh, here's another big box on my stove that you can use for Noah's Ark. Ask somebody or just find one. This was a surprise. I thought, oh, these kids are gonna think I'm babying them. I brought that to class. The grapes, I walked into Dollar Tree one day and they had these huge bins of these little individual grape clusters. You can see the individual grape clusters, they're about that big. They're $1, of course, that was before COVID. Everything's gone up 25%. Everything's $1.25 now. So I got, I think, 27, and a friend, the same one who did my mounting of the people, put that together with wire, and then we threw it over that rod that somebody had left in our rental house, and I let them carry it around. I was afraid they would think it was too baby, but they loved it. And for the next 2 classes, they kept saying, can we carry the grapes around? And here's some of them carrying the grapes around. One girl's fixing the leaves, but they just loved it. So sometimes, even now, I'm surprised at the things kids respond to. This is upper elementary. This was 4th and 5th graders, but they absolutely loved this. You get little children, oh my goodness, they're just gonna go wild over this. You'll have to dress them up in costume though, and then feed them some grapes afterwards. I don't do that with the older kids so much. But that's objects. Now let's get to flip charts. What is a flip chart? We all know what flip charts are. What's a flip chart? Somebody give me some words because I don't have any.
Set of pictures.
A set of pictures. Typically, we connect them at the top with rings, don't we? I have an example somewhere. We'll get to it later.
We have an entire resource room with a gazillion if you need to see something. We have a sweet lady here who makes them for us.
Yes, they're valuable. They're valuable. But if you want to create something, how do you find pictures? My go-to resource is freebibleimages.org right here. This is Andrew Philip Peter and Nathaniel Meet Jesus, and it gives you the scripture. And then there's a whole set of pictures you can download. You don't have to use every single picture. If you're teaching kindergartners, you might choose 5. If you're teaching 5th graders, you might be able to use 20 or 25. Be careful about giving too much information for the age of the child. They also have a story planner. It explains what's happening in that picture. And then over here, you can print this out. It's got teacher notes. Sometimes I like these as is. And so I cut them and I glue them on the back of my visual aid. All of my visual aids have script on back, all of them. It can be changed, but all of them have that. You can use coloring books. If you like to color some pages in coloring books, put that into a flip chart. Always number your pages. Now you say, well, I might teach this for 5th graders. I might teach it for kindergarten. So what do? You can make them adaptable. You can get a complete set, let's say 25 pictures, and you've got a complete set, but you're going to teach kindergartners, 1st graders, 2nd graders. You're not going to use all those pictures. Pick select pictures that you want to use, pull those out, put the rest aside and teach that, or teach a shorter segment. But you have all of the pictures in one, but you can pick and choose depending on the age that you're teaching. Sometimes I get tired of flip charts when they're just plain like that. And guess what? If I'm getting tired of them, guess what?
Kids
Might not be so thrilled. So let's talk about some varieties. I like to do flips and flaps. Flips and flaps. Let me see, where am I here? Oh, this is a Becca. Are y'all familiar with Becca visual aids? But aren't they wonderful? I think anymore they tend to make them smaller than these. They aren't quite as big. The only thing, Becca is denominational, and there is denominational falsehoods in here. Be careful. Some people I know throw this out. They copy or rewrite what's good, and they throw this out so that no one gets the falsehoods, particularly regarding salvation. So that's one way. So flips and flaps. Here we go.
This is on Noah. So we're talking about what clean animals are. Like sheep and goats. See the split hoof? See the split hoof? Give the kids a visual, something they can latch onto, because it's not just a Bible story, is it? No, this is real. You might do something like this. God said, I want you to go inside. I want you to take food for you. Go into the ark. I said that. I usually practice with these a little bit. This is a little awkward. But see, you've got something that's a little out of the ordinary. Here we have a dove being let out, dove being let in. At last, it was time for God to open the door. So give a little surprise. Give the kids a little surprise. Here is one from the Passover. You're to eat standing up, fully clothed, with your sandals on and your staff in hand. Eat quickly. How often do you get some pictures of people eating Passover sitting down at a table? No, that's not how it was. Standing, shoes on, staff in your hand, get ready to go. And I don't know where, I just searched online until I found it. I'll pass this around so you can see. You can find anything online if you spend enough time looking. Pray about it. God, I really need an image of this or that. And, you know, God will answer your prayer. He always has answered mine. All right, another variation is to repeat words. We're talking about how the children of Israel, had left Egypt. They were wandering around. They were running out of food. They were running out of water. Blah blah blah. And they started griping and complaining, and they came to Moses and they said, why did you bring us out here? We're gonna die. So I get real dramatic with the kids, and they look at me like I'm just the little bonkers. But then I'm not deterred. I keep teaching. So the children again, once again said, we're gonna die. And they look at me even weirder. By the third, the fourth, the fifth time I'm saying this, boy, you're saying it with me. They're having so much fun. Repeated words. Another one is, but not in the land of Goshen. So if not all stories can do this, but if you find a story where something just keeps happening, find a phrase or something that you can repeat. It doesn't have to be something from the Bible. It can just be something catchy phrase that relates to it. But I had to put this on there because I flop it around so much, and I throw it on the floor, and I'm strange when I teach. All right, here's sort of the typical flip chart that we think of. Another variation is to make them in shapes. This is especially effective for the younger kids. The older ones, not a big deal. This is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So if you want something bigger than this, you need to go to maybe an 11 by 17 piece of paper. But think about storage.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't make this one bigger. Yeah, she knows. Now look on the back. Well, I have my source, Free Bible Images. I've got this here. I don't typically use the ring because it's just awkward. Because typically what you do is you have your script here for this one. And then you have your script here for this one. But I always mix up my pictures. I may not use all of them. So I always put the actual script on the back of the actual picture that I'm using. That's what I do. And this is just to show you an example of a flip chart. But again, this is freebibleimages.org. Yes?
If you take it apart, you can use it for review by having them put them in order.
Yes, you can do that too. I wouldn't do all of these because there's too many.
No.
But you might pick out key ones. That's a good way to review after the lesson. Excellent. All right, so flips and flaps, repeating words or phrases, simple charts. You don't have to print them out. You can use PowerPoint. This is another one on Free Bible Images. Notice that it's live action people. Most of them are in this. This is Sweet Publishing. Most of them are like this, but they also have like this, and they also have other picture images, and you can kind of pick it for the age. But I like these because it's real. again, and it helps the children understand that reality. So you can use PowerPoint, and when you do use PowerPoint, or whatever, Google, whatever it is, or Apple, whatever it is. I'm really technical, as you can see. You can add things in. You don't have to show just those pictures. You can show other things. For example, let me see. Am I getting ahead of myself?
Do you have computers in all your classrooms?
No, I bring
You
my
brought
own.
your own.
I bring my own, and I got a 17-inch screen specifically so that I can bring the children around and I show my PowerPoint on here. So it's big enough, even 4th and 5th graders and 6th graders I got this year, I have them sit on the floor in front of me like a kindergarten class. At first, they think it's kind of weird, but then they really get into it because I can see the whites of their eyes. I know exactly when one of them is off. And you know what I do if I lose a child? Typically, I don't say, pay attention. Typically, I say, you know what? Let's get up. Let's do something else. So we'll get up. We'll do another activity, and I'll kind of explain some of those other activities that I call them minute fillers. They're just minute fillers. I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. We get up, we move, we come back, and boom, they're right there with me again. Don't force the kids into something that they're not supposed to do. This isn't elementary school. We're not their parents. We only have them for 45 minutes. It's not our job to teach them to sit still and pay attention to the class. That's important, and yes, they need to learn that. But let's take that obstacle away and make it so that they just naturally are able to pay. Let's work with the brains they have so that they just naturally can pay attention more easily. So you can use PowerPoint. Wait, there's more. How are we doing? We may go another 5 minutes. I just got to show this one pile here. Everybody okay with that? I know we need a break. All right, I was at a garage sale. You know, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask God, well, you part of the reason I stopped at that garage sale and found this amazing resource. National Geographic, 1966. It was the life of Abraham or something. It had these pictures in it. This was years ago. I'll pass these around so you can see. This is a caravan of people today in that part of the country. Here they are. They're living in a tent. This is, you know, when kids think of travel, they don't think about the fact that they had to walk. They had to have animals that would carry some of the burdens and so forth. Here's an old man holding a little boy. And here's an older woman holding with a little child. That could be Abraham and Sarah. So you can find this kind of stuff.
And they look like those people.
They do. These are
You
Middle
know,
Eastern something, I guess. So I'll pass these around so y'all can see why I wanted you to sit close.
I think we can find the 1966.
Yes, you
national-
can. Yes, you can. You can order them right now. The problem I ran into, I ordered an extra one of that and another one. National Geographic. I ordered it twice and I paid for it twice. And I finally called National Geographic and I said, I ordered this twice, I paid for it twice. And she said, there are so many fake websites out there. Tell me the website that you used and we will see that it gets shut down. Call National Geographic. You can find them online. Ask for Abraham 1966. I forget what the name of it was, but just look online. 1966 National Geographic, The Life of Abraham or something like that. All right. There was a movie about the 10 plagues. When you're teaching the 10 plagues, find some images. Just Google online, plague of flies, and then go to images. You can find some really cool stuff. Here are gnats or lice. See, they're very tiny. Gnats or lice. Here's some hail, and you can see the damage it does. A boil. You know what a boil is? It's an infected hair follicle. My dad had one time. I remember it was just huge, and I went to the doctor with him and had to lance it. Ooh, it was gross. Leprosy.
when Moses puts his hand in his shirt, show them what leprosy is. We have to be careful not to scare children though with some of these things. This is what I show fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. I just love to gross them out. Because when we get their emotions involved, and their emotions can be anything from curiosity to maybe a little bit of healthy fear, but we have to be careful not to scare them so that they're afraid that they get leprosy, because leprosy is in the world today and it can be very bad in places where there's not modern care. Leprosy is curable today with antibiotics. It's a process, but it can be cured. So we need to teach children when we're showing them pictures that, oh, you know, what if I get leprosy? If you get leprosy or the plague, you can go get I know a man who had the plague, antibiotics. It wasn't a simple fix again. These are locusts, I believe. I'll pass these around as well.
Those are good pictures of the locusts.
They are online. Search online. Another thing I do a little bit of with the kids, these are not connected as a flip chart. Starting when we talk about Joseph going to Egypt all the way through Moses, I give them small tidbits about Egyptian culture each class period. We're not here to study Egyptian culture. We're here to study the Bible. Egyptian culture is history. The Bible is history, but it's theological history. Everything God has revealed to us is there for a reason, to give us an idea of God's plan for mankind. So I just do I might spend 2 or 3 minutes a week on some of these. I'm throwing them all at you at once, and I have a lot more, but this is just a small snippet. These are wigs. Ancient people, or Egyptian people, really, they had a lot of lice, body lice, head lice. So they would shave their entire bodies, a lot of them. And so they would wear wigs. This, I believe, is an actual wig. I have 2 of these images and I can't remember which one was anymore, but you know, kids really enjoy these. They also wore makeup. Makeup wasn't an option like it is today. I'll group them all together in a minute. In Egypt, makeup was a necessity. Do you know why? Especially that eye makeup. Yeah, it was for the sun and it was also for bugs. They used gel and other products. This is an actual mummy. Here's another one. Show them, this is Egypt today. This is what it probably actually looked like, and so forth. Give them a piece of papyrus. Okay, y'all can pass those around. Okay, that's all for this session. Let's take a break.